All right, so we'll go ahead and get started, and then I'm sure people will be joining us as we continue on. But basically, what we're going to do today is talk about essential oils for maternal wellness. So my name is Zarine Bharda. Stephanie McBride will also be presenting more so on maternal wellness and the essential oils and a variety of oils to use for specific ailments or different things that you're going to be going through pregnancy as well as birth and postpartum. So what I will be doing is I'll give you a basic overview about what essential oils are and the different ways that you can use them, whether you're pregnant or not. So a bit about myself is I'm a mom of three. I'm the founder of Healing Oilistic, as well as I'm a doterra wellness advocate where I've been using the essential oils for about 6 years now. And I've used all different brands, and this is the brand that I always come back to just because of the purity and the potency of it. And I know the quality that I'm using. So that's where one of my biggest passions is being able to guide other people that are passionate about essential oils or holistic health to start making that transition into wellness for themselves. So let's start off with the three things about essential oils. So the first thing is with essential oils, they are 100% natural and safe. And that's where you want to ensure that the brand that you're using of essential oils is the right brand for you. So with the doTERRA essential oils, there's no side effects, no addictions that are associated with any of the oils, as well as the essential oils themselves are so potent where you can say that 1 drop of peppermint oil is equivalent to drinking 26 cups of peppermint tea. So that's where purity and potency is there. And that's where on the screen you're able to see that in comparison to herbs, essential oils are 50 to 70 times more powerful. So that's where Stephanie will go into detail a little bit more about what each essential is for, and I'll kind of give you the overview. So they are very effective. So when you go to the doctor and you have a bacterial infection, the doctor will typically prescribe you antibiotics. What that does is that not only kills the good bacteria, it also kills the bad bacteria in your gut. Whereas with essential oils, they can naturally support you so that your gut microbiome is actually staying in its optimal levels that it should be at. The second way is for also if you have a viral infection like the flu. Basically, the doctor can't really give you anything for that. All they're going to do is just tell you to go home, get some rest, and drink lots of fluids. And that's where essential oils are able to actually pass through the cellular membrane because of their oil consistency and their oil basis, where they're actually able to penetrate in and affect you on a cellular level. And that's where you can use them even while you have the cold or the flu to basically support your immune system, your respiratory system, and whatever support that you're looking for throughout that ailment. The third way is that they're very affordable. So when you look at it in the big picture, you are typically, when you go to the doctor, you're taking time off work, you're paying your copay, or you're paying the doctor their fee. And then in addition to that, you're also paying for the prescription. Whereas if you have essential oils, and especially with little ones, like they're not going to pick and choose when they're feeling well, and it's not going to be convenient for you. So it's going to be most likely the middle of the night where they're going to be not feeling well, or they might have an ear infection. And that's where you can use your essential oils as an amazing tool in your home as like a natural alternative for them. So an example is for earaches. You can use 2 drops of lavender, 2 drops of peppermint, and dilute that with some fractionated coconut oil, and then just have that rubbed behind their ears. And that's where it's such an amazing alternative to basically do that instantly. And that's something that even if you do have to go to the doctor, that will still hold you over until then, and they'll at least subsidize some of the pain that's associated with ear infections. So the 3 different ways to use essential oils is aromatic, where for aromatic, I'm sure a lot of you have either maybe diffused essential oils or you've at least breathed them in. So whether that be through perfumes, other deodorants, creams, lotions, that's where, again, when you are breathing something in, you want to make sure that it is pure and that it is at its purest form. So that's where when you are breathing in things into your limbic system, you want to ensure that it can affect your mood, it can support your respiratory system. So that's where you don't want something that has like those chemical additives or something that is being adulterated. The second way to use essential oils is topically. So with topically, your skin is the largest organ. So that's where everything is so readily absorbed into your skin. And you can apply it localized. So for example, if you have a headache, you can apply it on the temples or at the back of the neck. Or if it's something that you don't like the aroma for, you can always apply it topically on the bottom of your feet, where the skin on the bottom of your feet is thicker. So if you have sensitive skin, it's a lot better to apply it on the bottom of the feet, as well as the pores on the bottom of your feet are almost the largest in your body. So that's where it is able to get so quickly absorbed into your body and into your skin, where your body actually metabolizes it in about 30 minutes, but it actually goes throughout your whole body within about 2 minutes. And that's how amazingly quick these essential oils can be. So with essential oils, again, for topical use, dilution is key, especially during pregnancy, as well as when you're using them for your little ones. Their skin is so much more sensitive. That's basically the main reason for diluting, is for sensitivity, as well as for ease of application and allowing the absorption into your skin. So that's where just a quick dilution, where 1 drop of essential oil for 4 teaspoons of carrier oil for babies, and 1 drop of essential oil into 1 teaspoon of carrier oil for children. And that's where you can either put it in the palm of your hand, but 4 teaspoons is a lot to kind of put in your hand. So just like a glass dish, a glass dropper bottle, or a roller bottle is perfect to have, so that way it's ready to use on hand. So the third way to use essential oils is internally. So during pregnancy, it's not always recommended to be internally using essential oils, and that's where always seek the guidance of your healthcare provider to ensure that what alternatives you're going to be using are going to be suitable for you throughout pregnancy, as well as just on a general basis. But some of the ways that you can use your essential oils internally is by either adding it in your water, in a veggie capsule, or under your tongue. And you can also add them into smoothies, using them to wash your fruits and vegetables, and into your salad dressing. So there are so many different ways that you can integrate them into your life so easily. So with the next steps, Stephanie is going to be talking to you more about how to use these essential oils for maternal wellness. So what I want you to do is, if you are either a healthcare practitioner or if you're pregnant or a mom, take note of maybe your top 3 health concerns, or maybe some of your clients' top 3 health concerns. For example, if they're feeling stressed, tired, pain, and what they want to feel is energy, happiness, and fit. Those are all things that you can use essential oils to support you on your journey. And these are all things that we may be feeling on a day-to-day basis, regardless of whether we're pregnant or not. And just during pregnancy, it gets to be even more amplified. So that's where you're able to pick and choose different essential oils that are safe throughout pregnancy to guide you and support you. So what I want you to do is, you can either send them to me, or whoever's link you had clicked on to enroll for this class, you can register or send it to them. As well as, if you do send it to me and you don't know who it was, I will guide you off to the correct person, and they'll be in touch with you to basically talk about which essential oils might be best suited for your top 3 ailments. So just before I hand it over to Stephanie, I wanted just to bring up that we are going to be having 2 bonuses that we will be discussing at the end of the session, where there'll be 2 different opportunities for you guys to take advantage of throughout this class. So Stephanie, I will stop my sharing.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Zarine. That's really great to get the foundation of essential oils and how to use them. I'll be going into more depth about the different uses, particularly aromatic and topical uses during maternity. And I'm going to be talking about each phase of maternity, plus nursing and new babies. So a lot of these recommendations I'm making, of course, you can also use just in your adult life or use with your kids. You just usually will modify how you're diluting the oils. So before I share my screen, I like to just say hi so you can see my face a little bit better. My name is Stephanie McBride. I have 3 kids that are almost all teenagers now. I'm a 12-year-old, 15-year-old, and 18-year-old. So I've been on this mothering journey for a long time now. And well before I got underway with parenting, I was into herbs, natural medicine, nutrition. And for a lot of years, I worked at a natural health clinic here in Portland, Oregon. And I found that I liked working a lot with pregnant women and also with babies and kids. And as much as people love herbal teas and changing their diet, some people love that, some people don't. But I found that sometimes the follow through from my clients for my recommendations was difficult or not long lasting. And when I started integrating essential oils, I found that people just could pull them out of their purse or diaper bag, and the follow-up was much, much better. Client compliance or patient compliance was just so much better, and that's because they're such a pleasure to use and they work so quickly. So after working for a while and not knowing as much as I know now about essential oils during maternity, I decided to leave my clinic. And I actually spent about 2 years just researching the topic of essential oils for use in maternity at all different phases of maternity. And this research included reading every study and every book on the topic that I could find, actually interviewing midwives that work in clinics around the world, so seeing hundreds of babies and births like a month, and using the oils for these things. And also I did a case study on this topic. So I have a lot of different information sources, and this class is just an intro. And I hope that you'll enjoy it. And of course, we'll show you some resources where you can learn more and go beyond this class and even get certification if you're interested in teaching on this topic. So I'm going to get started sharing my screen. Give me a moment here. Okay. Sure. I always get close to leaving the call instead of sharing because the buttons are closed. Okay. I think you can see that. So I like to say and be clear that this recommendations made in this class are not to be in place of medical advice. If you are a practitioner, I do agree and believe that there are a lot of medical uses for essential oils, but you should be a health professional and have it within your scope of practice to use oils like that on yourself or others. So please do keep that in mind. And I will just be talking about like common discomforts and things during pregnancy. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cat allergy going on, and I couldn't find my peppermint, which is my go-to. So hopefully I won't be too wheezy during this talk. So again, this is me, and that's picture on the left is me doing one of my wild crafting trips, backpacking trips during my 25 years of herbal study. So quite a background on this topic. Okay, so getting right into it, Zarine touched on this, which is so important to understand about essential oils. But the reason that they work differently than drugs or even whole herbs like herbal teas is because they're chemically complex and fat soluble, concentrated, volatile, aromatic compounds, which is kind of a mouthful. But you can see from the picture of peppermint on the right there that those little sacs hold the volatile oils. So when you crush a peppermint leaf, you can actually smell the volatile oils coming out of the plant. And this is important because since they're lipids, that enables them to cross through fatty barriers in the body. Like the cellular wall is a phospholipid bilayer, so that's also made of fats. And also they're very small molecularly, so they can fit through these barriers where other things cannot. So for example, viruses live inside of the cell where bacteria lives on the outside. So antibiotics can be effective for bacterial infections, but not for viral infections. And that is because they cannot cross through the cell barrier. Essential oils also can cross through the barrier on superbugs like bacteria and other things. So like, it's not just human barriers they cross, it's also the microbes that are infectious that they can cross and like actually destroy. So that makes them very good for immune building and protection. So some essential oils can also cross through the placenta. Some can cross through the blood-brain barrier. So when talking about this, we want to make sure we're using very pure oils like doterra that Zarine and I use and recommend for therapeutic quality and purity. So here's how much essential oil research is growing. I would say it's still like an area where we need so much more research. But when you're talking about testing on pregnant women or infants, there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through because most people consider it unethical to test on pregnant women and on babies, which totally makes sense, right? So we just don't have a lot of research for everything in this area, but we do have a lot of traditional uses for pregnancy and with infant care going back thousands of years. And so I do kind of lean on some of that information sometimes, and usually that information is then tested in a study and like proven later. So here are some safety guidelines. Let's see, so first, it's good to receive the mother's consent before using essential oils for her care. Also, as I said, make sure it falls within your scope of practice, the different ways you're using these. Use only high quality oils that have been grown and processed to maintain purity and their complex molecular structures. Keep in mind that essential oils at the grocery store or lesser quality ones are often just made for scent alone. They're not made for their therapeutic effects. So if that's the case, then you're going to be missing a lot of really important constituents. So for example, if I'm talking about lavender to help support burns and also inflammation and working as an antiseptic, if you buy an adulterated or synthetic form of lavender or one that just isn't therapeutic quality, then maybe they're just processing it in whatever the quickest, easiest, cheapest way is to get that scent. So you're not going to actually be able to use the same oils for the same benefits that I'm talking about unless they're pure, high quality and like processed correctly. If you would like to know more about that, I have a page on my website, which is dailynectaressentials.com. I'll show that at the end. But on that page, if you go under shop oils, there's a link on quality, and I write all about quality there and give a lot of examples and show which tests are done. Moving on, when using essential oils, especially during maternity, start with the lowest dose possible or the highest concentration possible, which I have charts for. And that will help you to see if you have skin sensitivity or if your body does well with that kind of concentration. If it's not working for you, then it's probably either the wrong oil or not strong enough. So you can increase concentration, but we do want to start with the most diluted, especially working with lots of different pregnant women. People have different reactions, different skin types, and everybody responds kind of differently. So this is not an exact science. So I can't say like I would say with a pharmaceutical drug, oh, take exactly this amount for your weight, because, and even with drugs, like we all metabolize things differently. Avoid prolonged exposure to any one oil. This is in part so that your body doesn't get used to it and it could stop working as well if that's the case. So I would say usually like a week on, a week off with oils. And also some have like fennel. I like topical use of fennel during pregnancy, but it does have a slightly hormonal effect. So that's one I would just use, for a week on, maybe for digestive issues, and then use a different oil in its place for the next week. Also consider testing for skin sensitivity, especially with babies. You can do this just by diluting the oil to the concentration you'll be using and then putting it on their back of their wrist or on the forearm so that you can keep an eye on it for a day or so. Do not use essential oils for internal use during pregnancy or infant care unless formulated for internal use and deemed safe by a reputable company, or I should put or physician there. So for example, doterra offers vitamins called a lifelong vitality pack, and I think they're amazing. They're very easy to absorb and work great as a prenatal. They do have some essential oils in them, but because they're formulated and they've been tested, I feel fine about that kind of internal use. It's more when people are just shaking the oils. They're like, oh, I need nausea relief. I'm going to just shake oils in my mouth all day long. It's really hard for me to give the green flag, to like groups of people and say, go for it, because we don't have a lot of testing on what it's like to take the oils internally and what kind of effects it may have on the baby. They do cross through the placenta, as I said. So I would just say I'm not an alarmist about it. Like if you have some hummus with lemon in it, like that's one of the safer oils, I would say, since it has so much traditional use in having lemon rind and things like that in diets. But I would not be recommending taking them as a first approach. I would use topical and aromatic first. Finally, with the risk of miscarriage, refrain from using essential oils in the first trimester. This has not been linked to any harm or any cause of miscarriage, but it's just a good idea, especially if you're prone to miscarriages. The essential oils could get blamed for causing the miscarriage, which would be a shame because they're so amazing during pregnancy. And also, some essential oils are minagogues, meaning that they bring on your minces like peppermint, frankincense. There's quite a few with that classification. So if you've ever read to avoid peppermint tea or chamomile tea during pregnancy, it's because years ago, the word emmenagogue, meaning bring on minces, was confused with abortifacet, which is an herbal term meaning that it causes abortion. Peppermint and frankincense are not abortifacients. They do not cause like spontaneous abortion or miscarriage. That was a misnomer, I guess you call it that, but it was published in an herbal text years ago, like 100 years ago. And it's something that's been repeated by herbalists for years and years, but it's actually not true. So I just wanted to make sure people know that, because I know some people think that you cannot use a lot of those oils in, or even teas in pregnancy, and you can actually, but I would just refrain during a miscarriage because they could get blamed for things. So the last one's really important because this is actually the #1 cause of harm from essential oils. Keep essential oils out of reach of children and avoid the nose, eyes, and ears. And like I literally like sold essential oils to someone and went through the whole interview and, you know, taught her how to use them and told her this. And she had a friend over with an ear infection, and she put oregano, which is one of the strongest oils, down this woman's ear, like not even diluted, which would have been painful as well, but just what resulted was extreme pain. So I do say that all the time when I share oils with people, that don't do that, but it is very, very painful to get this in eyes, ears, and up the nose. And actually some babies have been harmed, like well-meaning parents have used things like peppermint and eucalyptus directly in the baby's nose. And that's led to hospitalization and a lot of respiratory issues and pain, of course. So if you do get the oils in any of those places, or if you have a rash on your skin from oils, which occasionally happens with sensitive people, then use a fixed oil, even like olive oil or butter, whatever you have, to dilute the essential oil, not water. Water will not work. Okay, so I'm gonna go into more depth about the applications. I'll touch on internal, but not really, like it's not really that relevant for this time of life. And also I think that it's really better to use just more gentle approaches for most things during pregnancy, because your body's so wonky, whatever, it's going all over the place. You've got your organs rearranged, you've got your hormones all over. So it's better to just take things gentle. But these are amazing uses nonetheless, even though you're not using them internally. So aromatic uses, I mean, there's so much more than what I'm going to be covering in this, but when you go to use an essential oil for something, you do have to decide how you're going to use it, topically or aromatically. Aromatic uses usually are what I think of for things like mood and emotion, memory, or like brain fog. So like mental fatigue, airborne pathogens. So that can be like diffused or used as a spray to help, so like I said, build your immune system and also cleanse the environment. Let's see, so most of the citrus oils are really high in something called monoterpenes, and those are really wonderful for diffusing if you want to like kill off, you know, anything that could be in the air. Like a lot of viruses live in the air, as we all are learning so well this year. Also to open sinus pathways, they're amazing to put in like a mug. This isn't a mug, but put hot water in a glass and then put a few drops of like lemon. Marjorum's really nice during pregnancy. I avoid oregano during pregnancy. And then also peppermint or spearmint can be nice, but this is just something you can do as a steam with, you know, like a towel over your head. It's really intense, but it does help with sinus infections and clearing the passages. You can also, like for babies and young kids, just diffuse the oil, or, you know, I even have moms just like put a little on their shirt, and, you know, if they're holding the baby, they become on their clothes, become like a diffuser for the baby. Okay, so the limbic system is this incredible complex part of your brain where you inhale something and then it triggers your memories and emotions and has an effect on your neurotransmitters instantly. So this is so cool because in pregnancy, women's emotions can be all over the place, and also in postpartum. And just, you know, parenting, let's face it, like when you have kids, like it can be really challenging in moments, and you need a lot of strength and you need a lot of resilience and grounding. So this is a really great way to use these during pregnancy, is just to like get your emotions in check. I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's this really cool app. I'm going to try to show it to you for a minute here if you don't have it. I love it. With my kids and with myself, this is something I go to over and over again. Let's see. So it's this one. It's called the Daily Drop. Do you see that symbol? I think you just look up doTERRA Daily Drop, and then when you get on, you go to these bars right there on the top. Oh, and it's weird because sometimes it doesn't have it. Like sometimes I go on and it's just gone, but usually it's, oh, here it is. It just came back. Okay. So this just says determine your mood. And then there's these like continuums. So you can be like, oh, I'm gloomy, you know, overwhelmed. You can show how much of each you are. And then you actually scroll down to the bottom and enter it. And it shows you which of doTERRA's blends you can use to help this mood. And all of these are, I mean, some of them have oils that I'll say, oh, like basil's not the best during pregnancy. I would avoid it if you can. But like some of them may have like a little bit of one of these oils in it, but like for aromatic use for mood occasionally, it's not going to be a problem to have just a little tiny bit. It won't overwhelm you in any way. So I recommend having something like this on hand, and it's free. I think it might be like $5, but I thought it was free. Anyway, it's well worth it if it costs $5 to have on hand to help you with your mood. And then this is just something like when I first started using essential oils, and I invested in some of the doTERRA's really high quality oils, I thought, well, what am I going to do with all these grocery store oils that I've collected over the years? And I thought, well, I'll just use them aromatically, because really what's important with quality is topical and internal use. But actually that's not the case. Aromatic use also is really important to have high quality for. And this is just a study from Danielle Daniels, impure jasmine versus synthetic jasmine versus pure jasmine absolute. Basically, they monitored like heart rate and respiratory health and things like that, and gave people like a test group got synthetic jasmine, the other one got pure jasmine. And what they found is that the impure jasmine ignited a stress response. So it increased the sympathetic nervous system, or the fight or flight part of your nervous system, while the natural jasmine caused rest and repair, or parasympathetic or relaxing part of your nervous system. So I think that's a huge difference. And so do note that, like, if you have some of these, you know, grocery store lavenders around, like, just because it smells good, it might actually have some kind of negative effect on your mood that you won't even notice. Okay, so indications for aromatic use that are relevant during pregnancy: stress, quality of sleep, mood, feelings of anxiousness, postpartum blues, or just postpartum hormonal balance. For the baby, fussiness, sinus discomfort, and you can also use them for air purification. And these are a few blends that I came up with for digestive support. I have a TerraPad that I've published, and then also I have a little pink book that I sent my last copy to your printers, Zarine. So I don't have it on hand, but I have blends for the birth kit that I've made that are in these books and resources. So there's so many wonderful blends you can make up yourself, or if you wanted to look at what I've created, like they're just really fun to work with. But these are a couple that I like for digestion during pregnancy, and these can just be diffused. These ones were made to kind of smell good and to diffuse for digestion, but you can also put them in a bath or put them in a roller bottle and use them topically. And these are oils for labor pain. And I'm going to leave that. I'm going to go get some more water. Sorry, I didn't know I had this cat allergy. Okay, so and those ones, especially the ones, you know, it says labor pain, but just note that, like, you wouldn't be using clary sage before you're ready to start labor. So I'm going to go into topical uses. So basically, this is any time when the oils penetrate the skin, muscles, cell membranes, sometimes the blood-brain barrier. I didn't really articulate that well. I just mean in general, oils do penetrate those things, but topical uses are when they, are obviously are on your skin or body in a way that is absorbed. So the oils affect physiology and they have a generalized effect. So the aromatic qualities are also present for some of these topical applications. So normally you wouldn't take a bath with oils in it and then not also smell the oils. And it's hard to get a massage on your neck and not also smell the oils. So there's a lot of overlap between aromatic use and topical uses, and you'll get double the benefits. But just think of topical uses more for like systems. So as I said, digestion, you can apply them topically. If you have constipation, for example, you could use a blend of like black pepper and orange or ginger and orange and just rub it in the direction of your bowels for constipation. So in a clockwise direction. For diarrhea, it would be counterclockwise. For indigestion, you put it higher. So you basically just apply these wherever you're feeling the discomfort. It's pretty easy. And at some point, you might want to use them on a wound, in which case you can put them in open wounds, which is pretty incredible. I often, for my kids, had lavender around. If we went camping, I would just bring a little spray bottle with just water in it. And then if someone got hurt or had an open wound, I would like add some like 15 drops of lavender to it and use it as a spray. You can also just pour the oil directly into the wound without diluting it. This was more when my kids were really little, but kids that are over like 2 years old, you can just put it directly in the wound if you don't have a spray bottle. So I wanted to include this slide. This is from a talk I went to with Dr. David Hill, and this is actually a video. I just have 2 stills of it. I don't have the video here, but so this is him. He ate some food or something like French fries that caused some oxidative stress, and these are red blood cells. And this is a finger prick. So this is what was coming up when he first pricked his finger and started filming. And then he put an oil called Balance, which I actually have right here. And it's a grounding blend from doterra. And he put it on the bottoms of his feet. And like Zarine said, the pores are bigger on the bottoms of your feet, and your feet are tougher, so they're not as sensitive. But also, like, they just absorb the oils really quickly and they go all over your body. So remember, the prick was in his finger, the oil was applied to the bottom of his feet. And then 30 seconds later, this is what his cells look like in his finger. So don't underestimate the effects of essential oils when applied to the bottoms of the feet. And this is such a great thing for kids too. Like, babies have such thin, sensitive skin that I'll often recommend that you make a blend for the baby and just keep it on the changing table. So it's better to do like heavily diluted, like frequent small applications only when needed for infants, instead of like having them exposed just constantly to oils and using them every single day. I would just reserve use with infants, or meaning the first month of life, for when it's needed. So if there's like colic, or maybe like there's some congestion in the lungs or something like that, that might be a time when you're like, okay, I'm keeping this on the changing table, and for the next 2 days, baby's gonna get this. But babies also need to smell their parents. They need to smell the environment. So I like to make sure people understand that those things are very important as well. It's not really that the oils will harm babies. It's just like, what are they missing? And also they're so antimicrobial and anti-infectious and stuff that we're limiting the exposure to germs if we use oils constantly. And that's obviously very good for building flora and protection of the immune system in the baby. That's another reason I am reluctant to like really endorse internal use of oils during pregnancies, because you are trying to create like this gut flora in your baby, and they're antimicrobial. Here's an example of wound healing. So this is a really nice blend of melaleuca, lavender, and frankincense. You can add helichrysum. You can take out the melaleuca. You can do different combinations of this, but it's going to help a lot with problems with the skin and expediting healing, helping with scars. I would add sandalwood if you're looking at like a blend to help with stretch marks. And stretch marks are much easier to deal with before they come on than after. So, and same with scars. So like doing it initially, like as your body starts to stretch, doing something like this, or before, like this is obviously already, he's hurt, so if you have an open wound or something healing, that's when you use the oils more effectively than after everything's healed and there's a scar. I know sometimes we don't have the option. So this little boy stepped in like a chemical burn. I think this was in El Salvador. And then this is 15 days later after using the spray. So pretty amazing. Okay, so this is just a study. It's hard to find studies on pregnancy and pregnancy related things, like I said. I mean, we probably have like 30 of them total. Anyway, this is a study using lavender essential oil instead of povidone iodine to help with post-episiotomy healing. So I just like this because it was actually more effective than the povidone iodine because there was less redness. And I'm sure that also indicates less inflammation because those usually go together. But the povidone iodine is just an antiseptic. So lavender was used as an antiseptic, but also had its like positive side effects, you know, and was good for inflammation and redness. And I'm sure for pain as well, although that wasn't studied in this, but it's been studied in a lot of other places. So some examples of topical uses: baths, foot baths, sprays, lotions. And you can just add it to a lotion that's already made. Ointments. This is what I think of like for if there's chapped nipples and things like that, you can get like a natural ointment and just mix it in your hand before use. Roller bottles. With roller bottles, I usually use about 1/3 of the essential oil to 2/3 of carrier oil. If it's a really gentle oil, you could use half. So like Roman chamomile, stuff like that, geranium, really gentle, lavender, you can use half and half. And this is just nice. I mean, I use roller bottles all the time, like for headaches. You can put it on your temples, you can put it on the back of your neck to kind of help if you have anything going on, like brain fog or you're tired, that can be a good place to put it. Also with emotions, I mean, you put on your wrists, back of the ears for nausea. There's a lot of different places. It's kind of fun to look at like acupuncture points and where you're applying the oils as well. Like I know for cramping, menstrual cramping, like 1 inch below your belly button is a great place to apply like clary sage. So that can be used after the baby's born, you know, as you're having after pains and things like that as well. So also compresses, which is something I recommend to have on hand for labor. If there's, you know, if it's natural childbirth and there's not pain medication, or, you know, a lot of times the pain medication, they give way after the pain starts also. So just to keep you feeling better, I like to use a crock pot or like an electric plug-in heater and just put a bunch of rags in it with the oils and water and some kind of emulsifier. And then you can just use those over and over again and keep adding the oils as they evaporate. You can also use them obviously through massage. So just another note on this, when you put essential oils in water, you need to either shake, you know, like the sprays you have to shake, or if you put it in the bath or foot baths, anything like that, you need to add an emulsifier. And there's a lot of different options for this. I mean, I really like to have glycerin around because it's really easy and it doesn't change the consistency of the water very much. You can also use salts, but like sometimes that can be a little drying for people. During pregnancy, I don't really like salt baths because of the blood volume and its effect on blood volume during pregnancy. But in general, you could use that. And with babies, I mean, I usually just suggest a little bit of liquid soap to mix the oils into a bath. I really love heavy cream, you know, like you put in your coffee or make whipped cream from, or half and half or something like that. You could even use whole milk. I think that's really nice in the bathtub, but you basically want to mix the oils with the emulsifier, even just like a tablespoon or a teaspoon. Sometimes it doesn't have to be that much. And then you mix it into the water. So make sure to do that for safety and for efficacy, because if you just drop the oils on top of the bathtub, it's not going to work. I mean, maybe it'll also cause some skin irritation on you know, someone who's really sensitive, because it's just a whole drop sitting on top of the water. That actually, I usually mention at that point also that I don't recommend putting these in a labor tub. If someone's having a home birth or a hospital birth in a birth tub, labor tub's great, but a birth tub is lined with plastic and the oils can leach toxins out of the plastic. And also I've just heard some really bad stories about midwives using oils in the labor tub and having the babies born with an atopical reaction like red skin. So it's just absolutely not worth the risk. There's alternatives, or foot bath or a labor tub separate from the birth tub. or you can even do a massage. It doesn't take that long for it to be absorbed via massage. I write about this in my book. I'm trying to remember how long it takes to be massaged or to be absorbed into your skin. I think it's 10 or 20 minutes. No, I don't know where it is in the book, but anyway, I did a lot of research on this when writing my book. And so once it's absorbed, you might feel the like fixed oil or whatever carrier oil, you might feel like you're still oily, but the essential oil has been absorbed. So just keep that in mind. So these are a couple prenatal massage blends that I like. And I usually will have some kind of driving oil, like peppermint in the first blend would be the driving oil, and cypress in the second would be a driving oil. And I have those alongside of more of like a relaxing, usually a floral oil, like here I've used lavender, aroma chamomile. Sandalwood also has that kind of relaxing effect as like a resin. So I like to couple these for a couple different reasons. The driving oils tend to push the other oils deeper into the body. So it helps to take care of things like sciatica or, just deeper pains, joint pain. Those are more effective to use for joint pain than just to use the floral relaxing oils alone. Also, they work on pain differently. So if there is pain involved, like the relaxing oils tend to just lessen the effect of pain because tension can exacerbate the level of pain and your experience of pain. So it can stress. And when you use a relaxing oil, it works on pain by just lowering your tension. But if you use the other oils like peppermint and ginger's one, I know for sure does this, but then they can actually block pathways for pain in your brain. So those are working on pain in a different way than the floral ones. So it's good to put them together, especially like with labor pain. I like to mix those. Just before I move on, a couple other driving oils are like Siberian or white fir. Black pepper's a driving oil. And also, I guess spearmint would be not as strong as peppermint, but anything that's just kind of like eucalyptus could be. If you felt that on your chest, you can feel like it's really penetrating. So I'm going to kind of skip over things that I've already mentioned. And so start at like, okay, always dilute with a carrier oil for babies. And you do this at about 1 drop per tablespoon, or that's 15 milliliters. And then please test on skin for babies before use. You don't want to give them a whole wonderful infant massage and then a half hour later have them react to the oils. They have much thinner skin. So like usually people don't react to oils, but their bodies aren't fully developed when they're born. Like their livers aren't developed, their skin isn't totally developed. Like most of them is not totally developed at birth. So just keep in mind that that's why they're so much more sensitive. I think I mentioned everything except for, so avoid topical use of photosensitizing oils with sun exposure. I think that's on a slide coming up, so I'll talk more about photosensitizing later. So here are some basic dilutions, and we are going to be sending you guys a handout of a chart that's taken from this book, and it goes into like a lot of different ways, like a lot more dilutions than I have listed here, and then for lots of different phases. So I talk about sitz baths and oral use and compress, foot bath, massage and bath, and then go through a lot of different ages. So you'll get that later if you don't want to copy all this down. And then here it is, continued. So just keep in mind, these are starting points. And as I said, if it's not working, you might need to add more as long as there's no skin sensitivity. If it's not working and you add more and it doesn't work, maybe you're using the wrong oil. Like not every oil works for every person in the same way. That's why usually when you look up a indication for something, there's a whole list of oils. So you may just want to try something else, but the oils work. So if they're not working for you, you're not using the right ones or not using enough. Okay, so indications for topical use include pain and muscle tension, leg cramps, hemorrhoids, swelling, digestive upset, headaches, labor pain, labor progression or failure to progress, tissue support, wound healing, breastfeeding support, colic, diaper rash, teething. So as you can see, there's so much you can do with these, and also going into infant and baby care, and then well into like care of your children. My kids all grew up on these oils. I was sad not to have them for my own labors and my own pregnancy. I would have really loved it if I would have known about this then, but at least my kids got to grow up with them. And I have these keychains with like hooks on them that you can put all the little mini bottles, and they can put like 8 mini bottles in it. And I remember my youngest son, when he was like 4, he would hook it on everything. Like he'd hook it on his jeans. And then when he went to sleep, he'd hook it on his pajamas and sleep with it. And it was just so cute. And he knew how to use them all, and, you know, learn how to use them safely. And anyway, it's pretty sweet to have your kids grow up with this. So I've talked a little bit about internal use. I guess I would just say, like, once the baby's more established with nursing, then that, as a nursing, if you're a nursing mother working with a nursing mom, it's better to just kind of hold off unless you really need to use them until the baby's just established a little bit better. They can change the taste of breast milk. If there's something, if it's like a choice between, oh, should I take an antibiotic or should I first try to take oils internally during nursing? Like, I would probably go with the oils. I just don't want people to be like taking tons of them every day while the baby's like forming its gut flora and stuff like that. Okay, so this is just, I don't really want to read these, but they're just showing the efficacy of the oils and the safety of using them internally. So if you want to screenshot that, if you like research. Also, I have if you want a list of the research studies I used to write my book and to write my e-course and stuff, shoot me an email and I can provide that for you. So now I'm going to talk about my top favorite oils for maternity. And I say that, and then the next slide is the oils not to use, but I will be just saying this quickly and then getting to the oils that I love the best. And I have my daughter has a doctor's appointment today, so I won't be able to go into every oil that I want to talk about. There's so many, but I'm going to highlight my favorites and just also show you that, so these ones are best to avoid during pregnancy. So it's just basically like, use these with a lot of caution. You know, if you can avoid them, and use something else. There are so many alternatives. And it's really just that these aren't the best fit. So the type of herbalism I was trained in is called Western eclectic. And if you're familiar with that, or with Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine, you'll know that it's based on energetics. So instead of saying, oh, you have indigestion, it would be like, oh, okay, let me talk to you for an hour and get to know what your constitution is like. Like, do you run hot or cold? And like, what's your skin type like? And you know, you really learn the whole person and get a sense for their energetics. And then you recommend which oils. So it's hard to do that when you're teaching large groups of people. Like when I worked with one-on-one, you know, I could really individualize and get really specific about which oils would be best. But what I have to do working with pregnancy in larger groups is to just say, what's pregnancy like? So I'm looking at pregnancy from an energetic standpoint, and then looking at which oils are best during this time. So it's not that any of these oils are inherently bad or dangerous. It's just they're not the best fit for pregnancy for a lot of different reasons. I'm going to give you a couple examples, like birch and wintergreen, for example, are in a really amazing pain formula that doterra and other companies, I'm sure, use those in their pain formulas as well. But they also work like aspirin. In fact, aspirin is methyl salicylate, is that right? And it was derived from, I think, the birch tree, maybe wintergreen. Anyway, it's the same constituent in both those plants, but that's how we got aspirin. And as you know, aspirin is something that a lot of people are told to avoid during pregnancy. Now, there is some research out. People with certain conditions, oh gosh, I wish I had reread this, but sometimes people are told to take aspirin during pregnancy. Now, if they have, is it gestational diabetes? I can't remember. If anybody knows, put it in the comments, but I think this is brand new research. I really want to read it more thoroughly and understand it better. But in general, people should avoid thinning the blood because your blood doubles in volume during pregnancy. So these are just things like, if someone's using that like every day, constantly, like especially, I think that that's going to end up pushing the physiology like a place you don't really want to go during pregnancy. So that's why I say, why not use something like peppermint or Siberian fir with one of the floral oils instead of using those two? And you're still going to have a driving oil, you're just not going to have that effect of thinning the blood. So that's an example. And then cinnamon and cassia are really warming, but actually they've been shown to like alter like oxytocin levels and just affect your hormones in a way that is not particularly good during pregnancy. Let's see if you guys have questions about that. Oh, sorry, I'm having trouble with my slides. Okay, so these are some herbal actions which are wonderful for certain things, but like you just have to pay a little bit of more attention to during pregnancy. So some of the oils are photosensitizing, and these include like bergamot's the most photosynthetic citrus oils, also ginger, caraway, and fennel to an extent. See, my internet's not stable. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Anyway, so when women are pregnant, they have higher levels of a hormone called melanocytic hormone. And this makes you even more sensitive with the photosensitizing oils. So just be careful. Like, it's really just about like, don't rub these oils on your chest and then go out in the sun. So if you put them on underneath your clothes, like I love bergamot applied topically during the last trimester to help tonify. It's really astringent, so it helps to tonify the uterus and make it stronger. But like, don't go sunbathing with your belly out with bergamot on. So just be logical about it and make sure to pass that on if you're teaching people about pregnancy and essential oils. Some of the oils are cardiac stimulants. So that's another thing about cinnamon and cassia that is an effect we don't want during pregnancy, because your blood is already double in volume. Those oils are in a blend that's good for immunity that a lot of people love. I would just say use with caution, don't overuse. It's okay to like use the toothpaste, you know, and wash your hands, but I wouldn't diffuse it all the time in your house during pregnancy. I think you need to just keep in mind that too much of those oils is maybe not going to have a good effect. It's not going to hurt you, but it might not make you feel as good as you could. Like a lot of people have low iron as it is, and you know, it's just, don't mess with the blood. Okay, so uterine stimulants also don't mess with the uterus, you know, until you're ready to have the baby. So like clary sage, jasmine, myrrh, rose to a lesser extent, these all can stimulate uterine contractions and are best to avoid until term. But they're very useful in labor. So like these are awesome to have to help to regulate and strengthen contractions when needed during labor. So, and also the internal use of hormone influencing oils is not a good idea during pregnancy. And these are fennel and clary sage. And even in postpartum, I wouldn't be taking those internally unless fennel could be used if there's low breast milk production, so use occasionally internally in postpartum. Peppermint and spearmint may decrease breast milk production. There's no formal study on this, but Robert Tisserand, who wrote the book Essential Oil Safety, he on his Facebook page asked his really large audience, and about 50% of the women who responded said that it had decreased their milk production. If you love peppermint like I do, you can try it once your baby's kind of established with nursing. You can try it and see if it decreases production or not. And if it does decrease production, then use one of the oils that stimulates production to help get it back up. One more note about photosensitizing oils is yes, it does that, but it also helps with the mask of pregnancy, which a lot of women get these dark spots around their eyes when they're pregnant. And if you put those on at night, like bergamot at night on your face before you go to sleep, then you can help decrease those brown spots. So here are some of my favorite oils for maternity. Again, on my website, or maybe I didn't tell this group this, but on my website, I have a heading for essential oils for maternity or babies, or I can't remember what it says, but the drop-down bar will show you a list of my favorite oils, and it's by time in pregnancy. So it has labor, for postpartum, for infant care. And then you can actually click into most of them and read specifically how I would use them and what the precautions are. So I just like people to know about that because it's a pretty useful tool to have, and it took a long time to make. So I hope you'll enjoy that, and you can read more in depth about this stuff because obviously I won't get to all of them in this short talk. Also my e-course, I think I talked about 17 different herbs in my e-course, different oils, and go into a lot more detail. And then my book has 20 of them in the back. You can read about their uses. So we'll start with my very favorite oil. This is the only oil that I personally got to experience during and I just experienced it once for 3 babies and their deliveries. So what happened to me was I was at probably what I'd call the lowest point in my labor with my first child, my daughter, who's now 18. And I didn't get enough sleep. Like I went into labor, my water broke at midnight, and I was up all night long Friday night, and then really slow labor all day Saturday. And then I started active labor Saturday night. So then I was up all night the next night. No sleep for 2 nights in a row. And then she was born at like 6 in the morning on Sunday. And then I slept for like 3 hours, and they came and woke me up to take my blood pressure. And I didn't go back to sleep for 3 days. It was awful. So what happened was I ran out of real energy, and I just had to use my like stress hormone. So I actually couldn't lower my arms. I was like, I couldn't relax at all. I was just full of stress hormones. It was awful. And I didn't want to take any, drugs like even Tylenol PM or something, because I was nursing a new baby and like didn't want to like, sleep through her crying. Anyway, it was a really, really hard. And it actually set me up for years, like 10 years of chronic fatigue after that. And it's the essential oils that got me back. And I'm going to talk about that when I talk about geranium. But my one experience with the oils during my labor that it was good was when I was nauseous. I hadn't slept for 2 nights. It was right before she was born. I was vomiting, and my midwife put a drop of peppermint in the vomit bucket. And it definitely helped with the nausea right away, but it also made me mentally alert, and it gave me energy, and it helped with the pain. And it was like I remembered what I was doing and why. Like I'd completely gone in a zone where I did not remember I was having a baby. It was just like trying to breathe, and it made me alert, and like it totally shifted everything. So it's such a gift to give people this information and these oils. And it's why like this is my life now, is to share this with people and to share the oils with people, because it's so important to be able to spread this information. And I had such long labors because also I didn't know how to use the oils. If I had used things like clary sage and geranium, I know I would have had a much shorter labor. I was just so adamant about not using drugs, but I didn't have like an alternative. Like you can't just say no drugs, natural childbirth, and then not bring anything else in to support you and all the different things you have to go through to deliver a baby. So I know so much more now, and I want to help people to understand that. But you can also use these in births where you have medical interventions, like they definitely go alongside that. I do talk about that in my book, how to do that and how to adapt uses and stuff like that, and also my e-course. Okay, so peppermint is the best essential oil for pregnancy, in my opinion. Some people find it too strong, so like spearmint would be a nice alternative there with a lot of the same uses. It's good for nausea and morning sickness, vomiting, indigestion, constipation, gas, diarrhea, basically anything digestive. Also racing heart, sinus congestion, allergies, headaches, hot flashes, infections, muscular and labor pain, and it facilitates contractions. And also some people feel that it's worked for them to turn a baby that's not in the right position, maybe in a breech position. Apparently this is just like kind of, whatever, guessing, but apparently like if you put it on the top of the belly, if you have a breech baby, they don't like the smell. And so they'll turn and face downward. So I don't know. I think that's worth trying, right? Okay, it also helps with fainting, confusion, dizziness, fatigue, brain fog, shock, hysteria, convulsions, vertigo. So perfect for the transition phase of labor, especially if you combine it with peppermint or with frankincense. So if you guys have your oils on hand, or later if you have oils around, try a drop of peppermint and a drop of frankincense in your palm of your hand and inhale that. And it is like wakes up the brain. It's so great for that. And it also, like, it's one that I'm like, oh man, where's my peppermint? Like I wouldn't have this trouble with my cat if I had my peppermint around. But I don't know, I'm just unorganized, I guess, at the minute. Cause that's like the oil I have everywhere with me. I don't know what I do with it, but so that's just an amazing oil. And it also can stop negative thinking and help you cope with intense emotions. And during pregnancy, oh my gosh, like you're just kind of all over the place, and during motherhood. But I want you to pay attention to the way the plant looks. And I don't know if you know about mint family plants, but I've studied a lot about plants. And it's so interesting to me how what they're good for emotionally can relate to the shape of the plant. But peppermint has a square stem, and its leaves go straight out like this, and then perpendicularly they'll go out like this. So they're alternating opposite leaves. And what is a more stable structure than that? They're just so stable. It's like a chair or something, but they also are mutable. Like your cat can walk through them, it can rain, and they'll just go down and then they'll come back up. So I think that this is really great. These attributes are really good to bring into motherhood and pregnancy in general, just to be adaptive and flexible, but also really grounded and strong and able to stand up. So I like those things about it. So as I said, may decrease breast milk production, and it can also be an antidote for homeopathic remedies. So if you're on something that's really helping you, you might want to avoid peppermint and also black pepper for homeopathy. Some people think all essential oils can be antidotes. I haven't found that to be true, but just pay attention if you're really dependent on some kind of homeopathy. Also, don't use in people with compromised cardiac conditions or epilepsy. Don't put in baths or in noses, and do not apply to the chests of babies or young children. Also, like any of the strong oils and also eucalyptus, please don't put those on kids under 2 on their chests. Like, just diffuse them, that's enough, because that can really cause harm in kids that young. Okay, so geranium, I mentioned that this is the oil that got my health back after 10 years of, problems related to what happened during my labor with my first child. I did go on to have 2 more children after that, which is kind of hard to believe, but my health really never got back. Like I used to run all the time and it was in really good shape, and I did tons of hiking, and I just started to have a lot of joint pain and trouble with sleeping and fatigue a lot, and eczema and stuff like that. And I had to have a really strict diet. Like now I eat everything again. And I mean, I eat well, but like, I don't say, oh, I can't have that, I have allergies. Like usually everything's good with food for me. But during this time, I couldn't eat a lot of foods because I was so sensitive and in such bad shape. But what happened was my kids came home with lice, and I just bought my first doTERRA oils. And my friend who showed them to me said, oh, you can do lice treatment at home. So I was really excited to try that. And it had in it a number of different oils, including geranium. If you want the recipe, you can look and do a search in Essential Oils for the Birth Kit Facebook group. And I've got the actual lice story up there. But anyway, geranium essential oil lowers cortisol levels. So this would have been the best thing I could have done for myself when I was going through all that insomnia after my baby was born. But of course I didn't know about it then. But years later, so in herbalism, if you have a health problem and then years later are still suffering from it, you can actually use what you would have used to treat the problem all those years ago. You can bring in now, like in your life now, and go and treat the original injury in the moment now, and go back and actually like try to unwind some of that happened to you. Now, my problem was sleep debt. And a lot of parents experience sleep debt with their babies, even if they don't have insomnia, just tons of night waking. And the cure for that is really deep, high, good quality sleep. So what happened with the lice treatment is I put it on my head, and I slept more deeply than I had in like 7 or 10 years. I can't remember how long, but I had the best night of sleep I'd had. I'd forgotten that you could have one dream and go into another dream. And I just so desperately needed to do that. And I just started sleeping. Like that's all geranium did. I just slept, and it completely brought my health back, like 100%. Okay, so geranium is an astringent circulatory herb, which makes it good for healing tissues and skin. And it's good for numbing pain. It supports swelling during pregnancy and the regulation of body fluids after delivery. Geranium's a favorite oil for good quality sleep. In pregnancy and postpartum, geranium can be used for almost every symptom related to breast health, including tenderness, milk regulation, engorgement, sore nipples, and infections. Emotionally, geranium is calming, uplifting, and sedative. It improves mental clarity and helps us to cope with stress and postpartum blues. So it's great in a postpartum blend for hormonal balance. Okay, so, and then in the precautions here, I say avoid astringents with elevated blood pressure and perhaps with a history of estrogen-dependent cancer. Some people have found that these oils with phytoestrogens actually help people with estrogen-dependent cancer, but I just wanted to mention that because it's a precaution that comes up in other places, and it's not something I've deeply researched. With elevated blood pressure, just keep in mind, like when you have high blood pressure, your heart is trying to release that pressure, and so that's why you get the swollen feet and ankles is because your body's trying to like reach homeostasis. So if you use something like geranium on your swollen ankles and you have high blood pressure, then you can actually like push back up the pressure to your heart. So that's why I say don't use it in that context. If you don't have high blood pressure and you have swollen ankles, then it's great. Like it's just tonifying. Okay, I think I have two more. So lavender is just like the jackknife of essential oils that can be used for like almost everything. Definitely have this in your birth kit. And it's also very, very safe. So primarily it's used for conditions involving the skin, but it's also really good for infections. Like this is one that is like, if you have one oil for babies, have this one. And just keep in mind, yes, it can help with infections. Like you wouldn't think of lavender for that, but it's really good for that, to diffuse if there's a cold coming on or something. It helps with pain, nervous system imbalance, poor digestion also. It's good for scars, insect bites, bruises, eczema, scalds, burns, sores, pimples, postpartum wound healing, infections. If you've never used it for sunburn, it's really nice with like Siberian fir and aloe. It's just one of those ones to take with you when you go camping, when you go to the beach with your kids. Like you're gonna need it for something. So also for muscular labor and after pains, retained placenta. So a lot of people use this right after the baby's born, before the placenta is born, and rubbed on the abdomen. Ginger is really good for that too. Headaches, migraines, constipation, nausea, vomiting, colic, gas, intestinal uterine cramps. And did I say teething? I think I said that earlier. It may be used to support stress, poor sleep, tension, nervousness, and low mood. I know I have a lot of things in the precautions there, which is crazy because it's really a safe oil, but I guess just pay attention to the name, the Latin name. We're looking for Lavandula augustifolia because they are very different. There's a lot of species variation. So this is the one I'm talking about. It can be sedative for midwives and people at your birth, which is why I like to recommend that people bring some kind of handkerchief to the birth to breathe off of, so that it's not everyone in the room getting all these sedative oils. It's just, and your mom can also control when she's breathing it. So this is one of the oils that some people are truly allergic to. Like some people think they're allergic to oils, but it's really the synthetic oils that trigger them. But this is one that actually people can be allergic to. So if someone says they're allergic to lavender, don't dismiss them and say, oh, that's just because, you know, you're allergic to artificial oils. I'm using pure oils. Like people can really be allergic to any kind of lavender. And then it can lower blood pressure. So you want to be careful if there's an epidural or severely low blood pressure, you don't want to continue to lower. And then caution for induction of labor because it can have, you know, it can have an effect on urine tone. Only combined with essential oils with medication under the guidance of a prescribing physician. I know that that's kind of extreme, but like oils are so useful. Like if you're on, you know, blood pressure medication and then you start diffusing lavender, you might not need as much medication or any at all. So you just want to keep in touch with your doctor and say, I'm also doing this, so that you can understand the kind of effects that they'll have. So it's not really that essential oils will cause a problem as much as that they'll help fix the problem, and then you might be taking too much of a drug. Okay, so this is the last, I think, actually, I don't know if I have enough time to talk about, sorry, I think I have two more. Just, I'm gonna go through this one kind of quickly. I'd rather talk about clary sage, but black pepper, basically anything to do with digestion or pain. This is a great oil. Just make sure to dilute it, and I would recommend mixing it with one of the floral oils, like I said earlier. Clary sage is one that almost everybody has heard about for pregnancy, and it's good for a lot of other things as well, but it's most commonly known for labor. So don't use this one during pregnancy. Wait until you're ready to start labor. If your body's ready, or if you're late starting labor and you're trying to bring labor on, there's no formal research on this, but I have talked to midwives who work, you know, mostly in other countries where they're handling like hundreds of births a month, and they're having a lot of luck inducing labor with geranium and clary sage and lavender, those three together. So it can bring on labor, and it can, what it does mostly though, and I think of it as doing, is it helps to make the contractions more effective and to regulate them. So if there's like erratic, like not very effective contractions, and they're spaced too far apart, this is a really good one to get labor really going and to like regulate and make them effective. Once the contractions are doing great on their own, or like with the clary sage, they're like picked up and they're normal and they're strong, stop using the clary sage, because it's kind of like oxytocin. It can take it too far. So not everybody knows that, but I would recommend keeping an eye on that. Clary means clear. You may think of it as like burning sage, but it also clears stuff like brain fog. It clears your sinuses. I mean, in a sense, it clears the baby out because it helps get the baby out. It can be used, let's see, I mentioned that part. It's also the most sedative essential oil we have. So it's pretty incredible that we can be calmed at the same time as having our contractions be stronger and also be less painful. In postpartum, it can be used for after pains, and it helps bring on the first lactation. It's not one I would keep using for that. I mean, you could try it, but I think of it more for the first lactation. It supports night sweats, balances the hormones, really good in postpartum to diffuse with things like ylang ylang and lavender and bergamot. Really nice for getting those hormones back. And also it helps with the like sloughing off of water, like when you're losing water weight and baby fluids in postpartum, it helps with that. It also helps with night sweats and let's see, general respiratory health, irritability, moodiness, postpartum blues. Just look at the Latin name. Always just check your Latin name, especially if you're taking my course or looking at my materials, because there's a big difference between this and Salvia officinalis. If you're someone who, like no company is gonna produce Salvia officinalis because it's not good for use. It's not safe. But if you're someone who wildcrafts things and are making your own things, like just be really careful you're getting the right species here. Avoid until mother is to term. Do not use with suspicion of like any kind of medical issue. I think also with breech babies. Avoid with alcohol and heavy postpartum bleeding. Okay, because that can affects your fluids in your body. So this book I've mentioned a couple times. This I had two original pieces under the name Stephanie Pearson, and they actually were combined and redesigned into this. So it's my blends for pregnancy book combined with my guidebook, which is a lot of charts and graphs, and like, you know, I even go through like which carrier oils to use for what, and like I have a lot of just indications. And I also have this tear pad that is kind of based on this, but it's just all in a tear pad that you can hand out. One of them's laminated. If you're a birth professional, you might want the laminated one, but it basically looks like that. And it's under $10. It's pretty cheap to get this, and it's just great for, it's like basically 2 years of research just all there, right there for you. And then this book goes in if you want more detail and to really take someone from the moment of conception and the first symptoms through, you know, when the babies are weaning, then this is a good book for that. And, you know, I also talk about nutrition. And so each section kind of highlights a different discomfort of whatever stage you're in, and then tells you how to apply the oils, which oils to use. It also explains the condition. So if you're like, why am I having all this back pain that I'm pregnant? I kind of explain why that happens in pregnancy and how you can support yourself with nutrition and essential oils. And also I've mentioned my e-course a couple of times. So I have this for people in the United States that can take it as a continuing education course. And if you're out of the United States, I mean, you can also take it, but that would be the general track because you don't get the CEU credits. But everybody who completes it and takes the quizzes gets a certification that they've completed the course. And I feel at that point, you have plenty of information to teach your own course or to integrate into practice. I have affiliate programs as well. So contact me if you have any questions about any of this. And I'm taking 15% off through October 25th. So you will get a link for purchasing the course in the email that we send out. And there's my contact information. Maybe we could just keep this up for, you know, like 1 minute, and then you can, if you have slides you want to put on, I can stop sharing my screen. I'll hand you back to
We'll keep your contact information up. That'll be good.
Cool.
So the promos that we had mentioned that we were going to offer you, there was Stephanie's course that is 15% off until October 25th, as well as anyone in the US or Canada that is wanting to get started with essential oils. Set up a consultation with whoever's link you've clicked, or reach out to either of us, and we'll be able to get you started with understanding how you can use the essential oils, as well as a free bottle Easy Air or Breathe, depending on whether if you're in Canada or the US. So what we can do is open it up to questions. So if any of you want to unmute yourselves, we can basically go over any questions that you might have. And if there aren't any, we will be sending you out an email again with the attachment PDF reference guide that Stephanie had mentioned, with a recording of today's class, as well as with all of the promo code details. So that will be coming from whoever you have joined this class with.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for attending. I really am glad that you're interested in this information, and it's really fun for me to present. And yeah, sounds like maybe there aren't any questions.
Yeah, I don't think so. So we'll
Okay.
close it from there. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks. Bye.